Good morning. I am Superintendent of Schools Marty O'Shea, happy this morning to provide residents with another video tour of our middle school buildings as we approach a vote in September. We want to make sure that residents have all the information they need to make an informed decision. So today is a chance to check out the Glenbrook facility. Just a quick overview of the building. It was opened in 1967, and you'll see from the wide shots that we're taking now that it has sort of a sprawling design. It's a split level design. Off to the north is the auditorium. Way down to the south is the cafeteria, the administrative offices, and the library sitting in the middle of the building. So that's one of the unusual features about this building. Modern facilities tend to cluster those core community spaces to allow for greater community access. So the sprawling design is a challenge in terms of day-to-day operations, but it also presents a challenge if we were to had we chosen to refurbish this facility. Glenbrook has a split level design where the cafeteria and the auditorium sit at a lower level, and the auditorium and some of the classroom wings are at an elevated level. And then behind the auditorium, it also drops off into the athletic fields, the recreational fields. And so again, that sort of split level design, it presents a couple of problems. One, it presents an accessibility challenge for our learners, and we'll see that when we get inside the building, but it also presents a challenge in terms of if we had chosen to update or do a base code repair to this building. Like I said, the building was opened in 1967. Much of the infrastructure is original. The plumbing, the electrical are original. The life safety systems have been improved, but they're not up to modern standards. The HVAC, it is single control, and the building lacks air conditioning, so air exchange is a challenge here, and we know that nowadays there's a really strong connection between healthy air quality, healthy air exchange, and learning, and so that's one of the challenges that we face here at Glenbrook. There are very limited spaces that are cooled and air conditioned. The parking lot, which I'm not sure if we'll get a shot of that. I'm grateful that the DPW has made some improvements, but it too is probably at the end of its useful life and needs replacement. The roof goes back to 1998, so that it's at the end of its life as well. So most of the major systems have not been updated. I'm grateful that the town has made some important maintenance upgrades and improvements over the years, but in terms of the overwhelming capital needs of the building, it really goes beyond what ordinary maintenance or ordinary custodial care could provide. So we'll take a look inside. All right, I want to talk a little bit about safety and security. So I'm grateful that over the years, the town of Longmeadow has made some critical investments in the safety and security of all of our buildings. Like all of our buildings, Glenbrook visitors who join us are picked up by a camera that has a feed to a monitor in the main office, and visitors are not allowed in unless they specifically identify themselves, and they're also picked up on the camera, like I said. Exterior cameras also support the safety and security of the building. Having said all that, there's definitely some safety and security challenges. When we made an application to the state of Massachusetts to address the needs of our two middle schools, one of the compelling arguments I think that the state heard was the safety and security challenges that we face here at Glenbrook. Part of that's related to the sprawling design that we mentioned earlier. Part of that relates to the open classroom design that we'll take a look at when we go in. But I want to bring the camera into the main entrance here to give a better sense of the safety and security challenges that we experience here at Glenbrook. All right, so I'm a visitor to Glenbrook. I've been identified by the central office staff with the camera system. I've identified myself, I've been buzzed in. But as you can see from the angle of the camera here, one of the first things a visitor encounters is a classroom. Best case scenario, the better case scenario would be to walk into a foyer that's connected to the main office. So this really isn't reflective of modern school designs. We wouldn't want visitors to have that immediate access to the classroom that's on my right. All right, we are in the main office suite here at Glenbrook, and I want to point out that our assistants don't have a direct sight line to visitors as they approach the front door, which again is one of the challenges that we have to work around. Grateful that we have installed monitors in all of our schools that the assistants can have camera visibility of visitors as they enter, but the ideal situation, of course, would be to have visitors come into a visitor lobby and be greeted and screened more directly by our office assistants. All right, we are in the midst of summer cleaning here at Glenbrook, but we can get a shot into the library, which one of the nice features is that it's centrally located, but you'll see that it lacks any natural light at all. Our librarian has done a nice job of creating it as a modern space with some flexible furniture, but in a 21st century digital information center, really ought to have more sort of classroom space. You'll notice, perhaps you can't notice, but it really lacks any instructional space. It lacks a space that can serve as a classroom or a place where kids can be involved in project-based or digital learning activities. We're in the one of the academic wings here at Glenbrook. Again, Glenbrook opened in 1967. It was at a time when there was an open classroom movement that served Glenbrook students well at the time, but as the years have gone by, we've found it helpful to try to create some makeshift walls. You'll notice from some of the shots that the walls don't go all the way up to the ceiling. They're in some cases, they're walls created with partition boards, or lockers, or in this case, some wallboard. They're unable to go up to the ceiling because if it did, it would compromise the lighting, the life safety systems, the heating, the cooling, the mechanical systems. And so the best we can do is to create the walls that go either halfway up or 3/4 of the way up. And we'll take a walk into one of the classrooms now. All right. So we're in an 8th grade English classroom now here at Glenbrook. You can see that it really is undersized compared to the size of modern classrooms. The rooms here are around 800 square feet. In the new facility, we would have typical classrooms, core classrooms of about 900 square feet. The additional size of the classrooms in a new facility allows for more co-teaching. It allows for more access for all students. It creates a more inclusive room that allows students who might ordinarily be pulled out for instruction to be included. So the size of the classrooms is a challenge to begin with. As we get some of the additional footage of the classroom, you can see that the classrooms, many of the classrooms, one of the walls is a partition wall. The partitions generally are past their useful life. They're in a fixed position now. They have to be in a fixed position. The partition walls have no electrical service and really don't serve as a teaching wall for instruction. And so the partition walls create some limitations. One of the biggest challenges at Glenbrook, and even more of a challenge at Glenbrook than at Williams, is the electrical limitations. And you can see really the lack of electrical drops in all of the classrooms. So really we've kind of maxed out the original electrical supply here at Glenbrook. Again, grateful that the rooms have been improved over the years with intercom systems and projection equipment. But when you talk about the fundamental needs of Glenbrook, it's really gone beyond what ordinary maintenance can address, because we're talking about life safety systems, we're talking about electrical systems, original plumbing, and on and on and on. And so this classroom is sort of representative of that. I'd point out that in terms of heating and cooling, all of it really is in need of complete replacement. All the piping, the valves, our original, when valves have to be swapped out, finding replacement parts is increasingly difficult for us. It really is, we don't have the building management systems that you would want in a modern building. It's essentially a single zone. And so there's a lot of uneven heat uneven air exchange across the building because it is single zoned. One of the other challenges that we face here at Glenbrook relates to accessibility. With it being a split level design building, it is tough for students who use wheelchairs to get from one level to another. Sometimes they actually have to go outside the building to get from the lower floors to the upper floors. The other accessibility challenge here at Glenbrook is there's a lot of tight spaces. The classrooms are tight. It's difficult for students to get around, but one of the biggest challenges is the narrowness of many of the doorways, and you'll see that this is typical of many of the restrooms here at Glenbrook, a very narrow door that a wheelchair would have a very difficult time getting through. We have had to specifically design just a small number of restrooms for students or faculty that might be using chairs or other assistive devices to get around. But generally the building lacks accessibility, and it is far from where we want to be in terms of creating a very inclusive building. All right, we are in a Glenbrook Science Lab, and again, I want to kind of build on the accessibility challenges that we face here at Glenbrook. One of the instructional areas that presents the most challenge for students who might be using wheelchairs is our science labs. So the science rooms are divided into a lab space and an instructional space, and you can see the instructional space is very limited, and to have anywhere from 20, 21, 22, 23 students in this area, it's very cramped, and it doesn't allow for the type of project-based collaborative learning that you want to see happen even outside of the lab space. The labs themselves are original, the utilities are original. Most of the utilities have been shut off, and so we don't have full access at the student lab stations to the utilities, so we really rely on the teacher lab equipment, the teacher utilities for demonstrations. All right, this hallway leads from the science labs down to the main office in the front entrance. The reason we wanted to get a shot here is to really show the lighting challenges here at Glenbrook. In many of the spaces, there's very limited natural lighting. And so we have many of the original fixtures we have upgraded to LED lighting to provide for some additional energy efficiency, but it's not the type of lighting that certainly is most conducive to student learning. I'd also use this as an opportunity to take a shot of some of the original lockers here at Glenbrook. And again, these go back to the late 60s. They aren't really used as student lockers anymore. They're largely used for storage, but the lockers would be in need of complete replacement here at Glenbrook as well, because in most cases they are original. All right, we are in the nurses' suite at Glenbrook. The original nurses' suite was adjacent to the main office. Over the years, we learned that space was really too small, too tight, too cramped to maintain. It lacked the privacy that you really want in a nurse's suite, a medical suite. And so this classroom was actually converted during COVID, and we've maintained it as the medical suite since that time. So it's very spacious, and we're grateful for that, but it really lacks the type of sort of specialized spaces for welcoming students into the nurses' suite, for treatment, and for places to rest and recuperate. And so 21st century nurses' suite would have much more designated, specialized spaces to maintain privacy and confidentiality and make sure that students are getting the treatment that they need. All right, we are in the Glenbrook Gymnasium. It has some nice features. It's spacious. The floor has been well maintained over the years. It has the additional practice court that runs perpendicular to the competition court behind me. But you'll see that it really lacks any space for visitors, for parents, grandparents, family members, friends who want to watch a game. And so they're forced to kind of gather along the baseline or to sit in small chairs along the sidelines. The biggest challenge with this space relates to air exchange and heating, and so the rooftop air exchange units are really at the end of their life. They don't provide the type of regular air exchange to the level that is conducive for physical education and for the activities that go on in here. Before we leave the gymnasium, probably worth noting that while this is a great space for sort of traditional athletics and traditional physical education programming, what we lack at both middle schools is an adaptive PE space or a small gym. In a smaller gym, you can offer some adaptive physical education for students who have particular needs or challenges, but it's also a space where you can do some aerobic training, some weight training, some dance, some yoga, some general fitness activities. And so that's one of the things that we're eager to see in a new facility is a gymnasium that offers everything that our current gymnasiums offer, but with the adaptive spaces that allow for a more diverse physical education program and a physical education program that serves students with very specific physical challenges. All right, we are downstairs in the sixth grade wing, and worth mentioning again that there are no elevators that allow students to access this lower level academic wing. So students who are using wheelchairs or even who might be on crutches for a period of time, they typically have to go outside the building to make their way to the lower level here. And so one of the things I could point out in this room is the lack of storage. Because of the partition wall and because of the instructional wall, we don't have a lot of storage, and modern teaching is sort of more supply heavy, it's more intensive, there's more materials that students work with directly in a project-based learning format. And so I know our teachers would be grateful to work in classrooms with more storage. In the sixth grade wing, you'll see that we have not been able to build up the partition walls that you saw upstairs in the eighth grade wing. So the walls in the sixth grade wing are sort of more makeshift. We have storage cabinets and lockers that provide some amount of privacy and noise reduction, but the walls, of course, don't go up to the ceiling. The classrooms do have some plumbing fixtures that are largely shut off. Those are drinking water stations in each of the sixth grade rooms. But again, a nice space in the sense that we do have functioning intercoms, we do have instructional technology in every room. So we are maxed out in terms of the electrical capacity in each of the rooms, and the running joke is that you got to be careful about plugging in one additional laptop cart because of the implications it will have for the electrical system across the building. All right, we are downstairs at Glenbrook in the sixth grade wing. This is a small group instructional room. You'll notice that it lacks any natural light or specialized equipment that might serve students in these small instructional spaces. Increasingly in 2025 and certainly in the years ahead, having spaces that can be flexibly used for small group instruction, for tiered interventions, for tutoring, for breakout spaces, for project-based learning is critically important. And so we have some of these spaces at Glenbrook, but they're really not ideal, and they're often sort of tucked away in tight, cramped quarters like this. All right, we're in the counseling suite at Glenbrook. So this space serves our school adjustment counselor, our school counselor, and then obviously the students that require their supports and services. This concept is a concept that we're sort of borrowing and bringing over to the new school. That is having a counseling suite that is separate and apart from the administrative wing. We find that it does create some opportunity for privacy, for confidentiality for students. What this space is lacking really is small group space for social groups or lunch bunches where students come together in a way to support each other's social emotional growth. All right, we're in the general music classroom at Glenbrook, and you can see that it's not specifically or specially designed as a general music classroom. In fact, this was a home economics classroom originally, and so that's something that we have to contend with and that we see at both Glenbrook and Williams. In other words, we have spaces where the instruction doesn't match the original design or purpose of the classroom. So we have old wood shops that have been converted into STEAM rooms or into art classrooms. And so this room, it's spacious, and so it supports a lot of instruction, but the acoustics, the equipment, the furniture doesn't really match the instruction that happens in this classroom. All right, we're in the Glenbrook Makerspace, and this was created as an extension of the existing curriculum. It's a space where students are highly involved and highly engaged in project-based learning. It's a space where students use their artistic talents, their engineering talents to design, create, and build. And so perhaps the camera will pick up some of the projects that students are involved with. Here in the Makerspace, I think I hear increasingly from parents that we want spaces where kids can be actively involved in their learning where they have opportunities to collaboratively design, to collaboratively create solutions. And so this space allows for that. It's one of the few spaces in the building that has a windowed air conditioning unit, so it does serve as a cooling station and during the warmer periods of the year. So life safety systems and modern communication systems are really important to the safety and security of a school building and its occupants nowadays. And so again, I'm grateful for the improvements that we have been able to make over the years into our schools in terms of enhancing safety and security. This building lacks modern life safety systems. It does not have backup generator power. It's not sprinklered. And the intercom, there are places in the building where it just doesn't reach. The cafeteria, this room, I believe, also is another space where messages coming from the main office don't easily make it into the classroom. And so when you have a safety situation, that certainly is a challenge for us. But in a 21st century building, in a new facility, we'd welcome the opportunity to really have modern communication systems, modern life safety systems, which are so vitally important. We're in the Glenbrook Auditorium. It's a great space, and it's one of the reasons that in the new facility we have chosen to include an auditorium. The MSBA only partially reimburses auditoriums. They steer middle schools towards cafetoriums or gymnasiatoriums, so to have a combined function of a gym and an auditorium, or a cafeteria and an auditorium. But knowing how much use this space gets and knowing how much this community values the performing arts, we felt that it was important to include an auditorium in the new facility. The new facility's auditorium will hold about 420, 430 students. And so it will be amply sized for student performances and for community events. It will feature a lot of modern audiovisual equipment, a lot of modern sound and lighting equipment as well. And so while this is a great space, like other large spaces in both Williams and Glenbrook, air exchange is a challenge in here. We're grateful that the Longmeadow Educational Excellence Foundation has provided us with equipment for our auditoriums over the years to kind of keep them at least a baseline functional for our students. But we're really pleased with how much use our auditoriums get. The performing arts, both music and chorus, but also drama. Drama is on the rise, I'm pleased to say, in Longmeadow at the elementary and middle and high levels. We have about 60 students that are involved in drama productions at Glenbrook and another 60 or so at Williams. So we really want to make sure that we have a space that supports all types of performing arts. All right, we're in the Glenbrook Art Room. It's a nice space, but it was formerly a wood shop, and you might see from some of the furniture and equipment around the room. You might see the legacy of the wood shop that was once in here. It's a nice space, but what our art teachers would tell us is that a modern art room would have some more amenities in terms of lighting and also access to sinks for students. So we have very small, limited sinks in this room that students can use to clean up after instruction is done. We're in the Glenbrook cafeteria, a nice space. A credit to the staff for making it inviting and welcoming to the students. Lunch is obviously an important part of the student day. The servery area, a lot of it's original equipment, original plumbing, original food preparation equipment in some cases, not in all cases. And so offering the sort of diverse lunch that we want to provide to students is sometimes a challenge here. One of the things I'd note that maybe our cameras can pick up on is the connection to some outside dining opportunities. So we have a small number of tables, picnic tables outside that the students choose to eat at during the warmer months. The challenge is it's not really connected to a safe area. It's not connected to a recess area. And so in a new facility, you'd want indoor dining options, better integrated with outdoor dining options, and having that outdoor space connected to a recess area as well. In this case, the indoor dining option connects to some picnic tables, which then connect to a parking lot. So it's a nice space. It's sufficiently sized, but it has some challenges. It is one of the spaces in the building that has windowed air conditioning units, so not the most efficient arrangement in terms of cooling a space, but it does create a comfortable opportunity for kids at lunchtime. All right, so that concludes our video tour of Glenbrook. We certainly are always open to any questions that residents might have to make sure that they can make an informed decision. But at the end of the day, this building has served the community well. It's been well maintained. But the needs, given that we're talking about plumbing systems, electrical systems, HVAC systems, life safety systems, the roofing system, the needs really go beyond what ordinary maintenance or even typical capital expenditures can handle at the town level. And so we have entered the partnership with the MSBA, and we're excited about the prospect of opening a new combined facility at the Williams site, hopefully in 2028. So appreciate everyone's time and attention, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.